Hi, I'm Yane Robinson, Chief Advisor at the Educator Suite. In this short clip, I want to talk to you guys about data instruction and how we need to use data to drive through all of our great points within our schools. A lot of people are confused when it comes to talking about data or how to use data perfectly within their schools. So I want to share a couple of tips and how data can really change a lot of things for you if used well. Case in point, one of the first pieces of data that we should definitely always analyze as school leaders and administrators is our actual population. The demographics of your students is major data. Something that I highly recommend is that if you are in a low-income neighborhood or a high-income neighborhood, get to know who is there in your community that's serving them. That is useful data for you. And I say that because in building your school culture, which is another topic that I will discuss later on, you want to use that type of information to drive home a thriving school. By using that information, knowing who are possible business partners in your community, other nonprofits and cultural organizations, it helps you make building relationships with the parents and the community a much easier task. Knowing how they serve and what they serve is also huge data that can help improve your life at the school. You see, when you have an idea of the services, saying if they're dealing with the homeless population, they're dealing with abuse or anything of that nature, you now have some information about where the child is coming from. One of the first things we have to do inside the school world is build relationships. This is not new news. This is old news. But how do we utilize that data and that input is very huge. Because once we have an idea about where our students are coming from and who they are and how to connect to their families, then we have a better reason, or rather not a better reason, but a better know-how on how to serve them. You see, if you are working with a homeless population, then you know that this child is probably having a few other emotional, social issues at hand, as well as maybe, possibly, not all the time, eating and so forth. And we all know that eating inside school is a very important piece, because anyone who's hungry is not learning. That's one form of data. The other part of data is actually looking at the assessments and the assignments that we give to our students. I'll deal with assignments first. Every year when you're starting off the school year, you want to make sure that your goals are set. And the best way to even create your goals is two ways. One, look at what the children need to know towards the end of the school year and work backwards. But also look at what they already know from the previous year. If they're coming into your school brand new, then you know you have to run your assessments anyway at the start. But if they've been in your school, then it's time to look at the information that you guys have and analyze it strand by strand to see what skill sets and what other pieces are necessary to drive your instruction for that child. You want to make sure that you allow time for the teachers and other people to collaborate, just in case there's more backstory and information in the student's file that could help you. Because again, that is data. With the homework, in order for your children underneath you to really thrive, the homework needs to match to what they need to know. Oftentimes, homework is given, or if we give these thick packets over assessment, over winter break or recess break, it sounds good in theory because we want them to practice these things. But now I'm asking you to go a little deeper and be a little more intentional about the work that you give. Let the assignments be meaningful. Let them be part of the overall goal that you have. And as a starting point, let the parent and the child know what their learning goal is. See, learning goals are not just necessary for students who have IEPs. They're necessary for every student that's in our classroom. So we need to have a clear understanding of exactly what they need to do and what they need to learn how to do in order to reach the goal. Then now let's look at assessments. Assessments. We have them. Some of us like them, some of us don't. As a data analyst by profession, it doesn't bother me at all. But what does bother me is if it's in alignment to what they actually need to know and do. Sometimes assessments are being created or they're third party and they're not really measuring exactly anything that's leading towards your goal. You want to make sure that if you guys are creating assessments, that you're looking at that data and looking at exactly what went right and what went wrong and what must be taught again. That too is useful data for informing your instruction. If majority of your students got a particular question wrong, then you definitely know it's time to revisit that lesson and think about teaching it in a different way. And I would also say if it's something that happens across the board around the school, on the entire grade level, it's a question that was missed, then it's time for us to do a PLC, which is a professional learning community, and look into different protocols that can be used. One of them is a definite question about the assessment in itself. Maybe the question wasn't worded correctly. Maybe the language was using text that they just didn't understand or was above them or beneath them or so what. Nonetheless, it's something for you guys to dig deep on and really question on, was this question appropriate for our students? The next part of that is looking at the actual curriculum that was taught. What steps did the children take before they even reached this assessment? Was there assignments, again, in alignment? Were the work in class in alignment? Those are all great questions to make sure that you go through when looking at your data. Another part of data that is very useful is when your students come into class and they're sitting down, you need to do a temperature check. Are they tired? Are they restless? Are they energetic? That's data too. And oftentimes we miss that as a cycle of knowing what is going on with our students. That type of data is very, very useful. If they're too energetic, you might want to do an exercise that kind of soothes and calms them. Or maybe you want to do something like I do, which is Zumba, which gets them all hyped up and motivated. And then we do a cooling down, and then they're able to learn. That is all useful data. Data informs us in so many ways, and there's so many things that we actually do on a day-to-day inside the school that is real data. Never leave any data unturned or neglected. Take everything that comes your way and think about how it can inform and impact your class. I hope that that was useful. And if you have any questions, please definitely join us at the Educator Suite Forum on Facebook or the group Educators on the Rise on Facebook. Either way, we're there to answer any of your questions as a municipal support between all of us educators who are doing this together. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.